lovely people. Today I want to talk to you about mindful eating. Obviously, we'll discuss mindfulness a little bit and we'll discuss why mindful eating is important. And then I'm going to give you some tips to start to utilize during your mealtime. Mindfulness is crazy hard. It takes a lot of practice. It's something I continue to practice and work on a daily basis. So go easy on yourself if this is new for you. If you have a strong mindfulness practice, hopefully this will give you a couple more tips and some things to think about as far as integrating that when you are actually eating your meals. I also want to comment for you moms out there that I sometimes roll my eyes or just want to laugh when people are talking about mindfulness and they're giving tips for certain situations, because when you're in a kitchen and you're trying to feed a bunch of kids, especially little kids, it's laughable, some of the tips that you can get. They're still valuable, but what I want to do is give you some ways that you can take those tips or take those tools and use them in these situations with kiddos too. So we'll talk about that as well. Let's talk about why we want to use mindfulness and be relaxed when we eat. What's the point of all this? So there's two sides of our nervous system. We've got our parasympathetic nervous system and our sympathetic. Your sympathetic nervous system is where you're at when you are stressed. It's often referred to as fight or flight or freeze. I always throw that in too, because a freeze response is also a stress response that's your sympathetic nervous system will dominate. We do not digest when we are in our sympathetic nervous system. So if you're driving down the highway and someone cuts you off, or you're late somewhere, the body is not working on digestion at those times. It is prioritizing you getting out of danger, essentially. Your parasympathetic nervous system is often referred to as rest and digest. This is where optimal digestion occurs. So this is where we want to be when we are eating. Avoiding stressful situations when you eat is optimal. And like I said, I always want to laugh at that too, because in a kitchen full of kids, that can be a really big challenge. First things first, we actually need to know what relaxation feels like. One time I had somebody in a class ask me, how do I know when I'm not stressed? And that really struck me, because that is a big deal. If we've spent a lot of our life, or we didn't learn that growing up, we spent a lot of time in our sympathetic nervous system, we might not really know what it feels like to truly be in our parasympathetic nervous system. So first things first is taking time to practice being in the parasympathetic or being in relaxation when we're not in stressful situations. So if you do have kids and that scene in the kitchen happens for you, then prioritize finding some time to practice mindfulness when the kids are asleep or they're at school or daycare or whatever, and you have even 5 minutes. So this might be something that you can figure out to do on a lunch break at work. I've got little kids and I do it right after they go to bed or right before I go to bed. And even if it's a busy day, I'll just make sure, what is 5 minutes, right? If I get to bed 5 minutes later and that 5 minutes actually promotes better sleep, then it's all worth it. So I will do this right before bed. I often still use Insight Timer, which is an app that you can put on your phone, sit and do a 5-minute meditation. Other times, if I might listen to someone else do a guided type of thing. So check that out. So find something like that if you would like to have something to hold you accountable that's there and kind of tracks you doing it every day. I'm not going to go into actual kind of teaching meditation right now, but I will definitely post some more content on that in the future. But start to do that is find that time where you're away so that you can start to feel what it feels like when your system really relaxes. So here's some ways to then take that and put it into mealtime. 3 deep breaths before you start eating. Now, if you're sitting with other people and you don't want to share with them what you're doing, that's fine. You can take 3 really relaxed breaths while listening to them talk, in between sharing things. And the idea is to let your body really sink into the chair, feel your tush in the seat, feel your arms maybe relax on the arms of the chair. One thing that works really well for me is feeling like there's weights in my hands and weights in my feet. So if I really sense my hands and feet, that seems to help me ground and relax, and I'll kind of feel my whole body like settle into the room. So lots of different tools for that, but find something that helps you feel your body in the space, and then take some deep breaths. And just start with that, that 3 deep breaths before you eat, because at least then you're starting to just send a message to your body to calm down before you start consuming food. Do it as a family. So we call it family breath. Even the baby does it. She's going on 2, but she thinks it's hilarious, and we all hold hands and we take a deep breath together. Just 1 deep breath. And it's just a reminder to us all to kind of come together and eat. If you have a prayer practice or any other sort of practice that you do before you eat, that's great too. And just use that time to also feel your body, feel your breath, and really relax and settle before you eat. The tip number 2 would be that during the meal, you can initiate some conversation about senses and what you're noticing while you're eating. So with little kids, you can literally talk about how the food feels in your mouth. Is this soft? Is this rough? Is this sweet, or is it sour or bitter? And just kind of talking about how the food feels. And that's one way to keep everybody sort of present, and thus you present. Sometimes I will just comment on things outside of the window, like, noticing what the sky looks like, or noticing what the trees look like as the wind blows them. And for me, nature is a really, really big thing that I like to keep incorporated for relaxation. I will notice, even when I just look out the window, that I sort of settle into the space and almost like space off into relaxation. Everybody's going to be different, so find something for you that helps you feel present, and you can just comment on that here and there. Sometimes people are like, what is she talking about? So that's okay. I always like to remind everybody, and you moms, that if mama ain't happy, ain't nobody happy. Even if they think you're a little bit weird, that's all right. And as long as it keeps you present. I have a little friend here. Say hi, Tobin. Okay, tip number 3 is for those moments when a family meal is just not in the cards, total chaos in the kitchen, or it's just one of those mornings that you're trying to get everybody out the door to work. And for those of you laughing, again, I can feel myself start to laugh when I say things, because I'm like, what morning isn't crazy trying to get everybody out the door to school? All those moments where you just have a lot going on, and we need to reconnect to mindfulness through the chaos. See if you can just find a different time to eat. So when I have really busy mornings, I know that I'm hungry and I need breakfast, I just put it in a container and take it to work, and will take like whatever time I have when I get there to try to eat calmly. Even if you know that, oh, I'm at work, I need to start working, and you're going to also eat at the same time, sometimes we just have to do that. So still find those mindfulness moments. So even if you're sort of reading through some email and trying to get started on your day, and you know that today isn't a day that it's going to happen, that I have this wonderful little window of time where I can eat calmly, quietly, and have this great mindful eating experience. Go back and forth between, now I'm reading that email, and now I'm taking a deep breath and chewing my food and swallowing, so that you're still practicing mindfulness, even if we're going back and forth between being mindful towards what we're doing and then being mindful towards reading. It is a lot of practice in those situations, but it's all a good practice, and it will all at least bring more awareness to what you're doing during mealtime. If it's dinner time and you get into a conversation with your partner or a kid or even a friend, if you're out to eat, that gets heated, or you're in a heated debate, stop eating. So see if you can finish that conversation and then resettle before you take your next bite. My family is like totally notorious for getting together and having heated, highly excitable debates. And through the years, I oftentimes will find myself not really engaged in that when I'm actually eating. If that is something that happens with your family, debating and all of that, that can be great and fun and have a place. But while you're eating, it's just going to get you in sympathetic nervous system and play against you when it comes to digestion. So just notice if this is happening when you're eating in your conversations, or use some of these tools to bring yourself back to body awareness, breath, and noticing when you're really relaxed, and keep just coming back to that. You're going to get pulled out of it, and that's part of why it's a practice, is just noticing when that happens and then bringing yourself back into that relaxation response. I hope this gives everybody some food for thought. Mindfulness, as I said, and mindful eating is a practice. It's ongoing. So take one of the tips and start to integrate it into your meals and your mealtime, and just see what you notice. Share any of your discoveries on the blog. I would love to hear about them. I will continue to share mine with you as well. And if you have any friends or family that you think this could help, I'd love it if you would share it with them, and hopefully they will find some good tools to use for themselves as well. Have a lovely day.